Hello and welcome to day 11 of Veda. It's Pauline Perot with Jump Out of Bed. Today's exciting topic is one that I find not that exciting at all, and that is to talk about something in the news. So I went and did a little search on my Edmonton Journal app, which is the local newspaper here in Edmonton, and I wanted to share with you 4 headlines that I picked out right away. Let me just have a quick look at them. Man charge after city prostitution sting. The second one, Edmonton's pothole-ridden neighborhoods get $9 million worth of repairs. Number 3, Catholic teacher facing new sex charges involving a second teenage girl. Number 4, drunk driver was traveling over 200 kilometers an hour before slamming into a vehicle. Now, I don't even know where to begin commentary on any of the above, and think it's probably best practices to abstain from commenting on anything. I quite frankly go on a news diet. I follow the philosophy of the success publisher Darren Hardy, who talks about being very mindful of what you put in your mind and being very mindful of what news you consume. I don't watch the evening news. I don't subscribe to a print newspaper. I rarely look at the app on my iPad as to what's happening, just because it's always doom and gloom. It's always full of terrible things. It doesn't mean I'm ignorant. I do follow lots of conversations that I have with colleagues and friends and family, keep me posted on the major things that are happening in the world. I do study up on things when I'm curious, but I find the day-to-day barrage of the headlines that I just read to you are the exact kind of things that I want to keep out of my mind and I don't want to focus on. And what especially I find really interesting is they talk about the last thing that goes through your mind, the last experiences that you have in your last 30 or 60 minutes before you fall asleep get replayed. I think it's like 8 to 11 times more than average of all the experiences that you have all day. And so for most people, if you crawl into bed and watch the 11 o'clock news program, listen to all the horrific things going on, which often is what is posted on news channels, that plays through your mind that many more times because it's the most frequent thing in your memory. That scares me, quite frankly, and I don't want to have that sort of information polluting my head. So I make really sure that the sources that I'm reading contain information that will actually help move my life forward. And quite frankly, that often means not consuming the mainstream news. Now, I have to say, with the whole advent of social media, I really do find out interesting things that way. For example, I was Skyping with my accountability buddy, Ashley Acker, last week when I found out that Alberta's premier had passed away, and it popped up on my computer, and I thought it was really interesting. It was a new break in news, which it was, and that was an interesting way to find that news that I otherwise hadn't. Likewise, this past week, I was updating my Twitter profile at Jump Out of Bed, and I noticed as I was scrolling through a couple of the recent posts in my feed that Margaret Thatcher had passed away. And so I found out through social media about some major political figures that had passed away this past week. And what was interesting about Margaret Thatcher is I was just watching The Iron Lady this past weekend, and I called and asked my very smart historian uncle, what's with Margaret? Is she still alive? Because I hadn't heard anything in a while. And so, gosh, if I jinxed it, yikes. And a few days later, of course, the announcement was made. So that is really my approach and philosophy about the news. And I'd love to hear, what sort of news do you follow? Do you read? Do you watch the 6 o'clock news? And of course, now there's the 5:30 news and the 11 o'clock news, and not to mention the noon news and the 8 o'clock news that, if you've ever watched them all at once, honestly often tell you the exact same thing in repetition. So no point watching that program 5 times. And I wanted to give a little shout out to my buddy Dan. I saw him at my Rotary Club today, and he made a joke about sisters, and he made a joke about horses, which tells me that Dan the man has been watching these videos faithfully. So Dan, thanks for watching and being a fan. I'd love to see your comments in some of these. And for the rest of you that are still in it at day 11, I'm grateful for the 5 people who are watching. So thanks so much, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.